Hey guys, it's Jess. Welcome back. I guess I should give myself a welcome back. Since I haven't uploaded anything in like 6 months at least. So I wanted to kind of sit down and just address everything that has happened in the last 6 months. So December kind of popped off a little bit. I was living in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I was evicted on December 23rd by my now ex-boyfriend and his mom. So basically what happened from start to finish without getting too detailed. Back in April of last year, I was living in Florida. I was dealing with the Brandon situation, and I downloaded this app on my phone that I'd had before, which was basically like a Christian social networking kind of thing, like just wanting to get encouragement, just wanting to talk to people, just not wanting to feel so alone. And I met this guy on there. I don't know if I should use his name or not, but we'll call him Danny. And Danny seemed like a really great person. We had a lot in common. And so I wanted to talk to him because we seemed to have, so much in common. So Danny and I had been talking for a month, maybe a month and a half, when I moved from Florida to Arkansas. And that was May 17th, so exactly 1 year ago. And so I moved out there, and Danny and I continued to talk. I don't even know why I'm protecting him by not using his name, but I don't know if there's like legal ramifications if I use his name, so yeah. So anywho, Danny and I continued to talk through May, June, and July. June, July is about the time that we started doing like FaceTime. At this point, we were talking all day, every day, consistently. Sorry if you hear anything out the window. I'm like literally sitting next to a window and it's open because it is hot in this room. So we were talking pretty much all day, every day, all last summer. And in July, early July, he told me that he thought it was a good idea for me to move in with him. Now, I am not known for making smart decisions when it comes to guys. I don't date guys. I just end up in relationships, which I know is like the dumbest thing of all time, but that's just how I've always been. So I talked to my friends that I was staying with out in Arkansas, and they were like, no. Well, the husband said no. He said it was a very, very bad idea, and he listed all the reasons, and he even talked to Danny and was like, no. His wife, however, was like, you're an adult. All we can do is offer counsel. We cannot sit here and dictate your life. You're grown. So August 1st, well, July 31st, technically, was when I left. I had already decided I was going to move in with him. And because our relationship had gone from 0 to 100, I figured this is a great idea, whatever. So August 31st, I left from the Dallas airport, fly to Charlotte, and he picked me up at the airport, and I moved to Fayetteville. And I got there August 1st, and everything seemed good. It seemed fine. I wasn't like nervous. I wasn't scared. I wasn't worried about anything because I trusted him. I trusted him enough to pack up my life and go move in with this guy that I'd never even hung out before, putting it in that context sounds insane, but it happened. So I moved in, and everything was going good until about mid-October. And Danny had told me that he had problems drinking in the past, and mid-October was when it started getting really bad. Mid-September, we had actually gone to Comic-Con in Greensboro, and that was fine. We hung out, we went to a gay bar for Pride. They were having a huge celebration. Neither one of us had ever been to a gay bar before, so we went there, and it was fine. I know what my limit is, and I'm also not a fan of drinking, so my limit is very, very low. But he had, a couple of beers, and, we were with his mom, who was our DD, so we weren't driving. Everything was totally fine. And then about a month after that was when stuff started getting really bad. By Thanksgiving of last year, we were barely speaking, and things were getting really, really tense. And he was drinking almost all day, every day. And it was so bizarre to me because he is in the military. And he had doctor's appointments that he had to go to. And he would lie and tell his manager, because he wasn't really in his unit because of an injury. He would lie and tell his manager where he was working that he was on quarters for like an entire week, and he would just sit and drink and play video games. And it weighed really, really heavy on the relationship because I wasn't okay with it, and he didn't seem to care. He was going to AA meetings, but at the same time, he was sitting here. He wouldn't, okay, this is the part where it's like, how much detail do I get into? I would come home from work, and it didn't matter what time of day it was, he was sitting there, he was drinking. He had been drinking since before I left. And I would sit there and make dinner, watch YouTube videos, whatever, and I would tell him every night between like 10:30 that I was going to bed. And he would come in and he would bug me. I'll just leave it there. He would bug me. And he would keep me awake. There were a couple times where it was 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning before he finally passed out, and I had to be at work by 9. So I wasn't sleeping, like, at all. I was so sleep deprived, it was unreal. And then I had to drive myself to work. And it's like, I didn't know what to do. Things were really, really bad. And I was starting to fear for my safety because of how frequently he was drinking, how bad things were getting. There was one point in particular where I came home from work. It was like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. And he was shooting off fireworks, which, okay, fine. Like, some states, it's legal. I know in Florida, it's legal, like, year-round. North Carolina, I have no idea. He was shooting off fireworks. Wouldn't be that big of a deal if he hadn't been standing in the backyard with the back door open, shooting fireworks into the house. Like, that's a problem, right? So I called one of his friends. I'm just not going to use his name. I called his friend, his best friend, who lives out in California, and was like, dude, I don't know how to help him anymore. I've done everything. I've tried to be supportive. I've tried to be the complete opposite of supportive and tell him, like, you really need to get your life together because I can't do this anymore. And, like, he would cry and tell me, he's like, you're the only person who is there for me, the only person that I can trust, and this and that. And he would make all these promises, and he would tell me that he knew he needed to get sober, but he couldn't do it for me, and he couldn't do it for his mom, and he couldn't do it for his daughter, and he couldn't do it for anyone. And I'm like, no, because you have to do it for yourself. It doesn't matter about anything else. And his friend was like, no, I agree. Like, I think we need to have an intervention. So he called Danny's mom and told her what was going on. I had already told his mom what was going on, but it was almost like she didn't believe me or just didn't care. I don't know. So we had this little, like, intervention kind of thing where she kind of I guess, talk to him. I don't know. I wasn't there for it because they like went out to breakfast or something. And he didn't get any better. Christmas came along. He wasn't getting any better. December 23rd, I was getting ready for work and they were out. Like they were gone. I didn't know where they were. At this point, he had already had me, like even before Thanksgiving, he had me move my stuff out of his room and into the spare room. He said he didn't want to share space with me anymore. So, oh man. So they come home, it's like 9:30 in the morning, and I had to be at work at 1. And they come home, and Danny goes and sits at the table, and his mom hands me this letter that's basically an eviction notice saying I have 48 hours. So I was being evicted on Christmas. Like, I was given the letter, my date of you need to leave was Christmas. That's the kind of people these are. So I freaked out, and I went and I called my friend Ryan, and I told Brian what was going on. And he said, call non-emergency and see if they can verify if this is a legal letter of eviction or not. So that's what I did. This bag just like moved on the floor by its own. Freaked me out. So that's what I did. I called non-emergency, and while I was talking with the dispatcher, she became more and more increasingly concerned with the state of the relationship and how things were going and how things had been. And by the time the police got there, she actually sent 6 squad cars and an SVU inspector because she was that concerned about it, which was right to do because of the circumstances that I'm not currently comfortable getting into. So he left just before the cops got there, and I was still on the phone with dispatch, and I told her, I was like, he's leaving, and I gave her the description of the truck. After about 10 minutes of the cops being there, he came back, and I'm guessing his mom was at the house, so I'm guessing his mom called him and told him to come back. I don't really know what happened after that. I talked to the cops, but I don't know like what happened on his end, like what his repercussions were. But I was escorted to work where I quit on the spot, which I hate doing. And they told me, just go about your normal shift. We'll handle things at the house. Just because it wasn't safe for me to be at home, and being at work, I was surrounded by so many people. And I'm so thankful that they were looking out for me. I really am. So that night, one of my managers took me home. Her and her husband took me home. And we had to wait for the cops to do a domestic standby so I could get my things, packed up my car, and I left. And that was it. Because he is in the military, they basically held a meeting to determine the course of action that needed to be taken on his end to kind of rectify the situation and make sure that he got the help that he needed, which was my only goal, really, in even saying anything about the kind of person he'd become, was to get him help. And I hope that that's what's going on. I hope that he's getting the help that he needs. I don't know. I haven't spoken to him since the day that I left. I sent him a couple of text messages after that, just asking him for like my other pair of glasses back, a leather-bound journal that I was writing down business ideas, and some gifts I had gotten for my parents and my nephew for Christmas, and he never responded. And I'm just guessing they're all in the garbage now, which is tragic because some of that stuff was irreplaceable. I know that sharing things like this is not always the best idea because there's oversharing, obviously, and there does come a point where it's like, okay, your life is a circus, we get it. But I think it's important to share these things with you guys because my goal with this channel from day one was to be honest and open and share my life with people. I don't know why I feel the need to do that, but that's just what I feel is best for me and what I want to do with this channel. And if you don't want to watch, that's fine. You don't have to. I don't care. It's more of like documenting my life so that I can look back and see how far I've grown, what I've overcome, what I've been able to deal with, and things like that. But this was not a good situation. It was not a safe situation. It was not a healthy situation, and I had to leave. I am forever thankful for my friends that have let me stay with them for the last 6 months. And I am so thankful for the space that I'm in. This room, this is my room. And I've not had my own room before. I've never been able to paint my walls, ever. I haven't had a new bed since I was 6 years old. And I went out and I bought a new bed and a new frame. And I'm still trying to find the perfect sheets. But right now, it's perfect the way it is. It's exactly what I want. And I'm so thankful to have such an amazing support system at work. I love where I work. I love the people I work with. They are amazing. And even though everything last year was kind of a circus, it was really a very eye-opening experience to know that my gut was correct, that I shouldn't have moved, even though I thought in my heart it was the best option for me. I knew in my head it was the dumbest idea, and I still did it. And I kind of hate myself for it, but I'm also glad I went through the experience and that I was able to grow from it. So yeah, that's where I've been for the past 6 months, is just trying to pick up the pieces, just trying to find a sense of normalcy again, I guess. I've been going to counseling pretty regularly. My doctor's schedule is really weird, but I've been doing my best to go every chance I get. And it's helped. But there's a lot of post-traumatic stress triggers that I can't seem to escape, like even songs at work. Even just seeing a big dark gray truck, I get nervous. I get scared that it's him. And it's hard to deal with, but I feel like talking about things like domestic violence, it's important to talk about. I'm not saying everyone has to share their story. I wish we lived in a world where people could share their stories. And I wish it was something I felt comfortable going into detail about, but outside the walls of therapy, I don't find it necessary for me right now to go into the details of the worst parts of that relationship. I hate the fact that I have to pick up my pieces that I let him break. And I hate the fact that he gets to live his life like nothing ever happened. And he never has to think about it again. Because in his mind, and I know this to be fact because he told me, in his mind, he didn't do anything wrong. He is 100,000,000% in the right. He doesn't understand what he did was wrong, or he just doesn't care that what he did was wrong. Hopefully one day he'll figure it out, but that's for him to carry, not me. As of right now, I'm living my life. I'm doing my best. I got a new tattoo. It's an absolutely amazing color wheel that I love so much. I got it done last night. I am going to a theme park tomorrow. I'm super excited. And yeah, I'm working on starting a business. I'm working on making more jewelry and just trying to find myself again, because if there's one thing I've learned through many crappy relationships is that I always lose who I am as a person because I get so wrapped up in trying to make somebody else happy that I completely disregard my own happiness, and it takes me a long time to get back to myself. So I don't want this to turn to another Brandon situation where I upload multiple videos about it. If you guys did have questions about the situation, I will do my best to answer them, but please keep in mind that it's a very sensitive subject, and it's not something that I particularly want to go into graphic detail about, but I do think it is something worth talking about at some point. So thank you guys for sticking with me. I'm sure sporadic uploads is going to make me lose more subscribers than gain them, but my health and safety comes first, and I'm not sorry about that. So, anywho, if you guys have any questions, comments, concerns, leave them down below, and I will see you guys later. Bye.